Welcome back to The Quiet Drift. If you enjoy Willow's story, don't forget to subscribe to The Quiet Drift. You'll get a notification whenever a new episode is released.
June 5th, 2026.
The late afternoon sun, a low, burnished coin, begins its gentle descent, still hovering just above the jagged peaks of the western treeline. Its light, no longer harsh or direct, washes over the cove in a deep, honeyed gold, softening the edges of the world. You watch as the surface of the water transforms, each ripple and eddy catching the sun's warmth, turning the dark, deep green of the cove into a shimmering tapestry of liquid gold and shifting shadows. The light dances, a thousand tiny, intricate patterns playing across the water's surface, reflecting the distant sky, now a pale, hopeful blue, streaked with whispers of rose and peach. The Myra, moored steadfastly at the dock, receives this golden benediction with quiet grace. The light spills over her weathered deck, illuminating the fine grain of the aged wood, bringing out the faint silvering where the sun and sea have worked their patient art. You can almost feel the warmth of it seeping into the planks, a deep, comforting heat that speaks of long days and endless horizons. The dew from the morning, long since evaporated, leaves behind a faint sheen that now glistens, catching the light like scattered diamonds. Chester, ever the connoisseur of sunbeams, lies stretched out on the foredeck, a magnificent, languid creature of pure contentment. His red-orange fur, usually a vibrant rust, now glows with an almost ethereal fire, each strand tipped with gold. The white patch on his throat, like a small, perfectly tied cravat, seems to absorb the light, making it even brighter, softer. He is utterly still, a study in feline repose, his eyes slits of emerald, half closed against the gentle brilliance. Only the slow, rhythmic thump of his tail, a quiet punctuation mark to the stillness, tells you he is not entirely lost to dreams. A light breeze, barely a whisper, stirs the air, carrying with it the distinct, clean scent of the Pacific Northwest. It is a complex aroma, a blend of sharp, briny salt from the open sea, softened by the damp, earthy fragrance of the old-growth forest that rings the cove. You can discern the resinous tang of pine needles, the deeper, more ancient scent of cedar, and a hint of the damp, mossy undergrowth. It is a smell that settles deep within you, familiar and grounding, a true scent of home. Above, the rigging of the Myra hums a low, almost imperceptible song in response to the breeze. It is a delicate symphony of creaks and murmurs, the gentle slap of halyards against the mast, the soft, rhythmic sigh of the lines as they stretch and relax. Each sound is a subtle reminder of the boat's living presence, a lullaby woven from wood and rope and the breath of the wind. On the far, craggy rocks that guard the entrance to the narrow channel, a lone cormorant perches, a stark silhouette against the deepening gold of the sky. Its wings are spread wide, drying in the last warmth of the day, a posture of ancient patience. It is an image of quiet solitude, a mirror to the peace that envelops the cove. You watch it feeling a connection to its stillness, to its deep, unhurried rhythm of existence. The air itself seems to thicken with the light, becoming almost palpable, soft and warm against your skin. The coolness of the morning has long since vanished, replaced by a mild, benevolent warmth that feels like a gentle embrace. It is the kind of evening that encourages slow breaths, quiet thoughts, and the simple appreciation of being. You lean against the weathered rail of the Myra, the rough wood of familiar comfort beneath your hands. The scent of lavender from the clay pot on the dock drifts up, mingling with the salt and pine, adding a delicate floral note to the sensory symphony. The rosemary, too, contributes its sharper, more invigorating aroma, a testament to the life that thrives even in this quiet, secluded corner of the world. The water beneath the hull murmurs a continuous hypnotic song, a soft lapping that is both constant and ever-changing. It is a sound that has become a part of your deepest sleep, a quiet rhythm that cradles your nights. The gentle sway of the boat is barely perceptible, a slow, natural breath that makes the Myra feel like a living entity, resting with you in the quiet embrace of the cove. You close your eyes for a moment, simply absorbing the feeling of the light on your face, the whispers of the wind, the symphony of the water. There is a deep, abiding sense of gratitude that settles within you, a quiet acknowledgement of the beauty and peace that surrounds you here. It is a feeling that hums beneath the surface of your daily life, a constant, gentle current of contentment. Opening your eyes again, you notice how the light has begun to stretch, elongating the shadows that creep out from beneath the forest's edge. The trees, ancient sentinels, now cast long, slender fingers across the water, turning the golden surface into a mosaic of light and deepening indigo. The distant island, a dark hump against the horizon, seems to draw closer in this softened light, its edges blurred, its mysteries held in a gentle haze. The memory of the faint, fleeting light you saw on the island last night surfaces, a quiet question mark in the stillness. It wasn't a sudden flash, not a signal, but more like a soft glow, there and then gone, a trick of the eye perhaps, or something more. It was the kind of observation that doesn't demand immediate answers, but rather settles into the quiet corners of your mind, ready to be pondered. You had decided then that you would ask Walter about it tomorrow, a quiet thread to follow in the tapestry of the day. Now, as the golden hour deepens, the island itself seems to hold a new, subtle luminescence, not a light emanating from it, but rather the way the declining sun catches on some unseen face of rock or ancient tree. It makes you wonder again about what might be hidden within its wooded slopes, what secrets it might hold. Walter, with his quiet wisdom and his long years in this place, would surely know if there was ever any dwelling, any presence on that small, distant landmass. His answers are always measured, often more implied than stated, but always carry the weight of deep knowledge. You imagine the path up to his stone cottage, winding through the tall grass past the ancient stone wall. The air up there, too, would be filled with the scent of pine and salt, perhaps with the added fragrance of his wood smoke, a thin wisp curling against the vast sky. You picture him, seated by his window, watching the same sunset unfold, perhaps with a cup of steaming tea in his hands, his gaze as steady and knowing as the landscape itself. The idea of speaking with him about the light on the island feels less like an urgent query and more like a pleasant anticipation, a reason to make the familiar trek up the hill. It is another small thread connecting you to the rhythms of this place, to the quiet companionship you share with Walter. There is a comfort in these small interactions, these shared observations of the world. As the sun dips lower, painting the sky with richer, more vibrant hues of orange and deep rose, the golden light on the cove begins to soften, to deepen into a warmer, more amber tone. The air takes on a gentle chill, a subtle shift that signals the day's slow relinquishing. You feel the need to move, to begin the evening's quiet rituals, to prepare for the descent into twilight. Chester, as if sensing the changing light, stirs from his sun-drenched slumber. He stretches, a long, elegant arch of his back, his claws extending and retracting with soft clicks against the deck. He gives a mighty yawn, a silent, gaping maw, before sitting up, his emerald eyes now fully open, surveying his domain with a calm, proprietary air. He glances at you, a slow blink of recognition, before hopping down from the foredeck with a lithe grace, heading toward the small, wooden dinghy tied alongside. He often takes a pre-dusk wander along the dock, perhaps chasing unseen shadows, or simply enjoying the last warmth of the day from a different vantage point. You smile softly, watching him go. His independence is a quiet comfort, a reminder of the wildness that still thrives here, even within the gentle domesticity of the Myra. He is a creature of both worlds, the wild forest and the warm hearth, a perfect reflection of this sheltered cove. The cormorant on the rocks remains, a steadfast silhouette, its wings still spread, a final tribute to the sun. The sounds of the cove deepen as the light fades, the water's lapping seems more pronounced, the gentle creaks of the Myra more resonant. The world is narrowing, focusing itself on the intimate details of the immediate surroundings, preparing for the quiet embrace of the coming night. You turn from the rail, a soft sigh escaping you, a sound of pure contentment. The air inside the Myra will be cool, waiting for the warmth of the wood stove. The oil lamps, with their promise of soft, flickering light, will soon be lit, chasing away the encroaching shadows. There is a sense of quiet anticipation for these small, unhurried actions, for the familiar comfort of the boat's interior. The thought of the faint light on the island lingers, a soft, almost imperceptible hum in the back of your mind. It is not an urgent puzzle, but a gentle invitation to curiosity, a quiet thread weaving through the unfolding evening. You know you will make your way up the path to Walter's cottage tomorrow, the question forming on your lips, ready to be shared with his quiet wisdom. The answer, whatever it may be, will simply add another layer to the story of this cove, another whisper in its long, silent history. For now, the soft descent of twilight calls, and the Myra waits to hold you in its warm, wooden embrace. The light begins its slow descent, softening the edges of the cove, painting the water in muted tones of pewter and rose. You watch as Willow's hands, nimble and unhurried, turn to the small, familiar tasks that fill her afternoons. There is a rhythm to these movements, as natural and unforced as the tide that laps gently against the hull of the Myra. She sits on the narrow bench in the cockpit, a coil of line resting in her lap. It's a halyard, chafed in a few places from its constant dance against the mast. Her fingers work with a practiced ease, unraveling the strands, examining each thread with a focused gaze. You notice the way the light catches the fine golden hairs on her forearm as she manipulates the rope, the subtle flecks of muscle beneath her skin. There is no urgency in her movements, only a quiet attention to detail. The air is still, save for the whisper of the water and the occasional call of a gull circling high above. Chester, a warm patch of orange against the weathered gray of the deck, watches her with half-closed eyes, his tail giving a slow, deliberate twitch. He seems to approve of her industry, or perhaps he is simply content to be in her presence, soaking in the quiet hum of her being. The scent of salt and pine is ever present, a deep, earthy perfume that clings to the air, mingling with the faint, warm smell of the teak interior that occasionally drifts from the open companionway. Willow selects a length of thinner, stronger twine from a small canvas bag at her feet. Her movements are precise, her fingers weaving the new material into the old, creating a splice that is both strong and seamless. It is a slow art, one that demands patience and a steady hand. You find yourself mesmerized by the intricate dance of her fingers, the way they seem to anticipate each other's moves. Each knot is tied with intention, each strand laid with care. This isn't merely mending, it's an act of preservation, a quiet communion with the boat itself. As she works, her gaze drifts across the cockpit, lingering on the polished brass of the compass housing, the worn varnish on the tiller. She has seen these details 1,000 times, yet today something catches her eye. It's a faint, almost imperceptible scratch on the edge of the coaming, barely visible unless the light hits it just so. It's not new. She knows it has been there since long before she sailed the Myra into this cove. But today, the way the late afternoon sun illuminates it, it looks less like an accidental mark and more like a deliberate etching, a whisper of a forgotten story. She traces it lightly with her thumb, a fleeting thought of who might have made it, and why, passing through her mind like a ripple on the calm water. The splice finished, strong and true, she coils the halyard neatly, laying it in a tidy spiral beside her. Then with a soft sigh she rises, her movements fluid and graceful. Her next task takes her to the small galley, where the aroma of wood smoke from the little stove still lingers faintly. She takes a few small potatoes from a basket, their skins still bearing the trace of rich earth. Her paring knife, its blade honed to a keen edge, begins its work, the peels falling in delicate curls onto the small wooden cutting board. The rhythmic scrape of the knife against the potato skin is a small, comforting sound in the quiet of the boat. She hums a low, tuneless melody as she works, a sound barely audible above the gentle creak of the hull. You notice the strength in her hands, the subtle competence that underlies every action. These are hands that know the feel of rope, the warmth of a fire, the weight of a tiller. They are hands that are intimately connected to the elemental world around her. She adds a few carrots, their bright orange a cheerful contrast to the dark wood of the galley. A small copper pot is placed on the stove, a splash of water added, then the vegetables. The lid settles with a soft asterisk clink asterisk. The scent of simmering vegetables will soon fill the cabin, a promise of warmth and sustenance. Stepping back onto the dock, she walks to the 2 clay pots nestled beside the Myra's bow. The lavender it spires a gentle purple, sways slightly in the faint breeze, releasing its calming fragrance. The rosemary, robust and green, offers a more pungent, earthy aroma. She takes a small, tarnished brass watering can from beneath the dock box, its surface dulled by the salt air and time. The water, drawn fresh from the well this morning, splashes gently into the can. Her movements are deliberate as she waters the plants, her gaze lingering on the delicate blossoms of the lavender. A tiny bee, industrious and intent, buzzes around the purple stalks, gathering its evening bounty. Willow watches it for a moment, a small, private smile playing on her lips. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated peace, a quiet appreciation for the simple, persistent beauty of the natural world. The sun dips lower still, casting long shadows from the towering pines that ring the cove. The air grows cooler, carrying with it a hint of the approaching evening mist. She returns to the Myra, retrieving a small bundle of kindling and a few split logs from the wood box near the companionway. The cast iron stove in the main cabin, already warm from its earlier use, welcomes the new fuel. With deft hands, she arranges the kindling, then places the logs carefully. The soft hiss of the wood catching, the faint crackle of the flames beginning to dance within the belly of the stove, are deeply comforting sounds. The warm glow from the small glass window of the stove casts shifting patterns of light and shadow across the varnished teak, making the cabin feel even more intimate, more of a sanctuary. Chester, who had followed her silently into the cabin, now curls himself into a tight ball on a small wool blanket near the stove, his purr a low, rumbling thrum that vibrates gently through the stillness. His presence is a quiet anchor, a steady warmth in the heart of the boat. Willow wipes down the small galley counter with a damp cloth, her movements slow and thorough. She straightens a stack of ceramic dishes, their small blue flowers a familiar pattern against the warm wood. Each item is returned to its place with care, a silent affirmation of order and intention. There is no clutter, no forgotten items. Everything has its purpose and its home within the compact world of the Myra. As the scent of the simmering vegetables grows stronger, she retrieves a small, leather-bound book from one of the built-in bookshelves. Its pages are yellowed, its spine softened by countless readings. She settles onto the narrow settee, the book resting open in her lap, but her eyes are not yet on the words. Instead, her gaze drifts to the small, circular porthole across from her, framing a perfect view of the water. The surface of the cove is now a deep, liquid indigo, reflecting the fading light of the sky. A heron, a solitary sentinel, stands motionless on the opposite shore, its silhouette a stark line against the darkening forest. The world outside is preparing for sleep, and the Myra, with Willow and Chester within its warm embrace, feels a part of that gentle winding down. She thinks of the light she saw on the island last night, a brief, fleeting beacon in the encroaching darkness. It had been so distinct, so clear, and then just as suddenly gone. The memory of it surfaces now, a quiet question mark in her mind. It wasn't a fire too small, too precise, and it wasn't a natural phenomenon. It had felt deliberate. She had resolved to ask Walter about it, to see if he knew of any reason for a light to appear on the uninhabited island. The question hangs in the air, a soft, unanswered thought. It is not an urgent matter, not a source of worry, but rather a quiet thread connecting her to the larger, unseen world beyond the Myra's familiar confines. She knows Walter often knows more than he says, his quiet wisdom a deep well she has come to trust. Tomorrow, when she walks the path up to his cottage, she will ask him. For tonight, the question can simply drift, a gentle current in the stillness of her thoughts. The warmth of the stove, the soft purr of Chester, the steady presence of the Myra around her, these are the anchors of the evening. The light on the island, and the quiet mystery it holds, will wait for the morning. The air holds a quality of quiet expectation as the afternoon light begins its slow surrender. You notice it first in the way the shadows stretch, elongating from the tall firs that ring the cove, painting long, cool fingers across the water. A gentle shift in the breeze carries the scent of pine and damp earth, mingling with the familiar salt tang of the sea. You find yourself drawn from the warmth of the cabin, stepping out onto the deck of the Myra, your bare feet meeting the cool, smooth wood. The sun, a vast, molten orb, hovers just above the western horizon, visible through the narrow channel that opens to the broader ocean. Its descent is not hurried, but a deliberate, stately movement, as if reluctant to leave the world to darkness. The light it casts is a liquid gold, pouring across the surface of the cove, making the gentle ripples shimmer like hammered brass. Each wave that laps against the hull of the Myra catches the light, briefly igniting with a fleeting, incandescent gleam before dissolving back into the deeper, cooler tones of the water. You lean against the forestay, the rough texture of the rope a familiar comfort in your hand, and simply watch. The world seems to hold its breath, a vast, silent tableau unfolding before you. The gold deepens, intensifying to a rich, burnished orange that spills across the sky. Wisps of cloud, previously unnoticed, now catch fire, their edges limned with brilliant, almost painful brightness. The air, though still holding the lingering warmth of the day, carries a subtle coolness now, a whispered promise of the night to come. The surface of the water mirrors the sky, transforming with each passing moment. Where it was once a muted silver blue, it now reflects the fiery hues above, a vast canvas of shifting color. Patches of the cove blaze with orange, while deeper areas, already touched by the encroaching shadows of the headland, hold a profound, luminous indigo. The sound of the water against the hull is a soft, rhythmic lullaby, a constant, comforting presence that anchors you to this moment, this place. It's a sound that has become as much a part of you as your own breath, a gentle pulse in the quiet heart of the cove. As the sun dips lower, its fiery orange begins to soften, bleeding into delicate shades of pink. These are not the vibrant, bold pinks of a summer flower, but the tender, ephemeral blush of a seashell or the inside of a cloud at dawn. The sky becomes a masterpiece of pastels, a gradient of rose and lavender, with faint streaks of peach where the orange still clings. The trees on the surrounding headland, which moments ago were sharply defined against the bright sky, now begin to recede, their forms blurring into soft, shadowy silhouettes. Their dark, ancient shapes stand sentinel, guarding the cove as dusk gathers around them. A profound stillness settles over the water. The gentle swell from the open sea, usually imperceptible within the shelter of the cove, now seems to breathe with a deeper, more deliberate rhythm, a slow, oceanic sigh. The air grows cooler, and you feel the subtle chill against your skin, a refreshing contrast to the warmth that still radiates from the sun-drenched deck. You might pull your shawl a little tighter around your shoulders, the soft wool a familiar comfort against the evening air. The transformation continues, a slow, deliberate dance of light and shadow. The pinks deepen, giving way to the rich, velvety blues of twilight. This is a blue unlike any other, a deep, resonant shade that seems to absorb all other colors, leaving only its own profound presence. The sky becomes a vast, inky canvas, flecked with the first hesitant pinpricks of light. You scan the expanse, searching for the familiar constellations, though for now, only the brightest stars dare to show themselves against the lingering glow of the western horizon. The water, reflecting this deepening blue, takes on an almost mystical quality. It becomes a boundless, fathomless expanse, its surface a mirror to the celestial dome above. The sounds of the day have receded almost entirely. The distant cry of a gull, the whisper of the wind through the rigging, the soft lap of water, these are the only voices that remain, lending a sense of profound peace to the gathering dusk. You watch as the last sliver of the sun disappears below the horizon, taking with it the vibrant hues of day. For a few moments, the sky glows with an ethereal afterglow, a memory of the light that was, before it too fades into the encroaching darkness. The air is cool now, crisp and clean, carrying the invigorating scent of the sea. And then, as if on cue, the first star emerges, a tiny, brilliant diamond against the deepening indigo. It is a moment of quiet wonder, a reminder of the vastness beyond this small, sheltered world. You find yourself searching for another, and then another, as if playing a silent game with the emerging night sky. Each new star that appears seems to twinkle with a gentle invitation, beckoning you into the quiet mysteries of the cosmos. Chester, who has been curled in a patch of sun on the foredeck for the better part of the afternoon, now stretches languidly, a long, graceful arch of his orange body. He yawns, a tiny, almost inaudible sound, and then pads softly to your side, rubbing against your leg with a comforting purr that vibrates gently through your jeans. His presence is a grounding warmth, a quiet companionship in the encroaching stillness. You reach down to stroke his soft fur, feeling the steady rhythm of his purr beneath your fingertips. The light that remains is no longer direct, but diffused, reflected from the vast dome of the sky. It casts the world in shades of silver and deep blue, softening the edges of everything, making the familiar seem subtly new. The trees on the headland are now entirely silhouetted, their ancient branches reaching towards the sky like gnarled, patient guardians. The air grows cooler still, and you can almost feel the dampness of the night beginning to settle. You might pull your hands into the sleeves of your sweater, feeling the comforting warmth against your skin. The stillness is profound, broken only by the gentle chorus of crickets beginning their evening song from the forest, a soft, rhythmic chirping that blends seamlessly with the lapping of the water. It is a sound that speaks of the enduring rhythms of nature, a gentle reassurance in the fading light. The Myra, your home, feels held and secure in this gathering dark. The oil lamp lit within the cabin casts a soft, warm glow through the companionway, a beacon of comfort against the deepening shadows. You can smell the faint, comforting scent of wood smoke from the stove, a promise of warmth to come. Full dark arrives not with a sudden snap, but with a gradual, almost imperceptible deepening. The last vestiges of twilight retreat from the western sky, leaving behind a vast, inky expanse studded with increasingly numerous, brilliant stars. The moon, a thin crescent tonight, has not yet risen above the eastern trees, leaving the cove in the profound, natural darkness of the wilderness. The forest is a dark, impenetrable wall, its secrets held close in the starlight. The air is cool now, carrying the invigorating scent of the deep woods mixed with the briny tang of the sea. You can hear the individual sounds of the night with greater clarity. The gentle rustle of leaves on the headland path, the distant hoot of an owl, the continuous soft whispering of the waves against the shore. These sounds, far from being lonely, create a rich tapestry of natural life, a symphony of the night that cradles you in its embrace. You stand there for a few more moments, breathing in the cool, clean air, letting the profound stillness of the cove settle deep within you. The questions of the day, the gentle curiosity about the fleeting light on the island, seem to recede for a moment, replaced by a simple, profound sense of presence. You are here now in this quiet cove, beneath this vast, star-dusted sky. The world outside the cove, with all its distant clamor, feels impossibly far away, a forgotten dream. Here there is only the rhythmic breathing of the sea, the silent turning of the stars, and the quiet comfort of the Myra rocking gently beneath your feet. It is a moment of complete immersion, a quiet surrender to the beauty and peace of the night. The mystery of the island light will wait for tomorrow. For now, the deep, encompassing dark holds all. The last sliver of the sun dips below the horizon, painting the narrow channel with strokes of fading rose and deep violet. A cool whisper of air drifts across the deck, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp earth from the headland, mingling with the ever-present tang of salt from the sea. You watch as Willow leans into the cabin, her silhouette momentarily framed against the lingering twilight. Then she reaches for the familiar brass hook where the oil lamp hangs. With a practiced hand, she lifts the glass chimney, her fingers deft as they trim the wick and strike a wooden match. A soft asterisk hiss asterisk as the flame catches, then a gentle bloom of light spills across the cabin's interior. The amber warmth of the lamplight washes over the varnished teak, coaxing a rich, honeyed glow from the wood that seems to absorb and reflect the light in equal measure. Shadows, long and liquid, stretch and contract with the gentle sway of the Myra, making the small space feel alive, breathing. You notice the way the light catches the intricate grain of the wood, highlighting the subtle knots and swirls that tell of its long life. Each curve and joint of the hull, every plank and beam, is brought into soft focus by the lamp's steady glow. The cabin transforms. What was a shadowed recess moments ago is now a haven of cozy illumination. The small cast-iron wood stove, its black surface still holding a faint warmth from the earlier fire, now seems to recede into the deeper shadows, a silent guardian in the corner. The copper pots hanging from their brass hooks above the small propane galley gleam with a muted radiance, their polished surfaces reflecting tiny, distorted versions of the lamp's flame. You can almost feel the smooth, cool metal of the pots beneath your fingertips, the weight of them in your hand. Willow moves with an economy of motion, a quiet grace born of long familiarity with her small home. There is no wasted energy, no fumbling in the dimness. Every step, every reach is precise and unhurried. You watch as she secures the lamp, its steady glow now the heart of the cabin, banishing the last vestiges of the day's fading light. The air inside is still and warm, a comforting contrast to the cooling evening outside. You can almost smell the faint, sweet scent of lamp oil, mingled with the dry, woody aroma of the teak, and a subtle hint of salt that always seems to linger in the Myra's air. She unties the canvas cover from the small folding table, letting it fall silently into a neat stack. The table, crafted from the same warm teak, now stands ready. From a small cupboard above the galley, she retrieves a ceramic bowl, its rim adorned with the delicate blue flowers you have seen before. Beside it, a simple, unadorned wooden spoon. There is a quiet reverence in her actions, a sense of gratitude for these humble objects, for the shelter of the Myra. You watch as she pours a cup of clear, hot water from the kettle, which has been simmering gently on the corner of the stove. A small tin of dried chamomile blossoms appears, and she spoons a generous amount into the ceramic teapot, its surface smooth and cool to the touch. The steam rising from the kettle carries a faint, earthy aroma, a promise of warmth and comfort. She sets the teapot on the table, allowing the blossoms to steep, their delicate fragrance beginning to permeate the air. From a small larder built into the hull, she brings out a crusty loaf of bread, still warm from the village baker, wrapped in a linen cloth. She unwraps it slowly, the faint crackle of the cloth a quiet counterpoint to the gentle lapping of water against the hull. The rich, yeasty scent of freshly baked bread fills the cabin, a simple luxury that speaks of sustenance and peace. She cuts a thick slice with a small, sharp knife, the blade glinting briefly in the lamplight. Then from a ceramic crock, she spoons a small amount of dark, thick stew into her bowl. You can see the faint shimmer of herbs, the deep color of slow-cooked vegetables. It is a simple meal prepared with care, meant to nourish and comfort. She carries the bowl and the slice of bread to the folding table, settling onto the small built-in bench that serves as a settee. Before she lifts her spoon, she pauses. Her eyes close for a brief moment, her head bowed in a silent prayer of thanks. It is a private moment, a quiet acknowledgement of the day's blessings, a ritual that anchors her in this peaceful existence. You feel a sense of quiet respect for this small act, this connection to something deeper. The only sounds in the cabin are the soft creak of the Myra's timbers, the gentle murmur of water against the hull, and the faint, almost imperceptible tick asterisk of the lamp as it burns. The stew is warm and savory, each spoonful a quiet pleasure. She eats slowly, savoring each bite, her movements unhurried, thoughtful. Chester, who had been curled in a tight ball on the narrow sleeping berth in the bow, now stirs. He stretches languidly, a long, graceful arch of his back, his orange fur catching the lamplight like spun copper. He yawns, a tiny pink triangle of his tongue visible, then hops down with a soft thud. He pads silently across the cabin floor, his white paws almost luminous against the dark wood, and jumps onto the bench beside Willow. He doesn't ask for food, but settles instead, curling into a tight ball, his tail a soft question mark against her leg. A low, rumbling purr begins to emanate from his small body, a sound of deep contentment that vibrates through the wood of the bench and up into Willow's arm. She reaches down and strokes his head gently, her fingers tracing the soft fur between his ears. Chester leans into her touch, his purr deepening, a small engine of warmth and peace. You can feel the quiet rhythm of the cabin, the harmony between Willow and her cat, the gentle rocking of the boat. It is a world contained, complete in its simplicity. As she finishes her meal, sipping the warm chamomile tea, her gaze drifts around the familiar cabin. It is a space she knows intimately, every nook and cranny, every scratch and scuff mark on the wood. Yet tonight something catches her eye. Her gaze settles on the bookshelves built into the hull beside the berth. They are filled with books, their spines worn and faded, well-loved companions on her journey. She knows the title of every book, the feel of every page. But tonight, tucked into a space between a worn copy of Melville and a collection of old sea shanties, she notices something new. Or rather, something she hadn't noticed before, not truly. It isn't a book. It's a small, flat wooden box, no larger than her palm, made of a dark, almost black wood, polished smooth with age. It seems to have been pushed slightly further back than the other items, almost deliberately hidden, yet not quite. It has no discernible clasp or hinge, just smooth, unblemished wood. She doesn't recall ever seeing it before. Or if she did, it was simply part of the background, an unnoticed detail in the rich tapestry of the Myra's interior. But tonight, in the soft, revealing glow of the oil lamp, it stands out with a quiet insistence. The light seems to cling to its dark surface, highlighting a subtle sheen that speaks of countless years of being handled, of being cherished. A small frown, barely perceptible, creases her brow. She reaches out, her fingers brushing lightly against the spines of the books, then gently nudges the box forward. It slides easily, silently, as if it has been waiting for her to find it. It feels cool and smooth beneath her fingertips, surprisingly heavy for its size. The wood is dense, almost stone-like. There are no markings on its surface, no carvings, no inlay, just the deep, dark wood polished to a soft sheen. It is utterly plain, yet profoundly intriguing. She turns it over in her hands, slowly, carefully, as if it might shatter. No seam, no indication of how it opens. It is a perfect, seamless cube, a small, inexplicable object that seems to have materialized from the very fabric of the Myra itself. A memory surfaces, faint and fleeting, like a ripple on calm water. She recalls Walter, during one of their quiet conversations on the dock, mentioning in an offhand way, she had a fondness for small, curious things. He hadn't elaborated, and Willow hadn't pressed him. At the time, she assumed he was speaking of the person who had owned the Myra before her, the anonymous, whoever was here before, he occasionally referenced. But she hadn't given it much thought. Now holding this small, dark box, the memory of Walter's words takes on a new resonance. Was this one of those small, curious things? And how did it escape her notice for so long, tucked away in plain sight on her own bookshelf? The box doesn't feel new, not at all. It feels ancient, imbued with the quiet weight of time and untold stories. It doesn't belong to her, not in the way her books or her ceramic dishes do. It feels like a relic, a silent testament to a past she has no part in. She tries to open it gently, testing for a hidden latch, a secret button, but there is nothing. The box remains perfectly sealed, an enigma in her hands. It is not alarming, not in the least. There is no sense of foreboding, only a soft, persistent curiosity. What could be inside such a box? And who placed it there, so carefully hidden, yet not entirely out of reach? Chester, sensing her stillness, lifts his head, his green eyes blinking slowly in the lamplight, a silent question in their depths. He stretches a paw toward the box, batting at it gently with a soft, furred pad, then rests his chin on her arm, his purr still a steady thrum. Willow continues to turn the box, feeling its weight, its smooth, unyielding surface. It is a quiet discovery, a small, unexpected thread woven into the familiar fabric of her life on the Myra. She had thought she knew every inch of this boat, every secret it held, but it seems the Myra, like the deep ocean it sails, still has untold depths. The light outside has now faded completely into the inky blackness of a moonless night. The only illumination is the gentle glow of her oil lamp, casting its warm circle around her. The sounds of the cove are hushed now, the distant cry of a night bird, the soft, rhythmic lap of water against the hull, the steady purr of Chester. She considers asking Walter about it tomorrow. He always seems to know things, to have a quiet understanding of the history of this cove, of the Myra, of the people who have passed through here. He might know what this box is or who it belonged to. He might have seen it before. But then a different thought surfaces. What if he doesn't? What if this is a secret that belongs only to the Myra, a silent echo from a time before her? There is a quiet beauty in the unknown, in the questions that linger without immediate answers. She decides to keep the box for now, to hold it, to feel its weight, to let the mystery of it settle within her. She places it gently on the small folding table, beside the cooling teapot, its dark surface absorbing the lamplight without reflecting it. It sits there, a silent sentinel, a quiet invitation to wonder. The gentle rocking of the Myra continues, a lullaby against the hull. The warmth of Chester's purr against her arm, the comforting glow of the lamp, the lingering scent of tea and bread. The world outside the small cabin has narrowed to these familiar comforts, these quiet certainties. Yet, the dark box sits, a small, intriguing question mark in the heart of her peaceful world. It is not a question that demands an urgent answer, but one that gently invites contemplation, a quiet thread for her thoughts to trace as the night deepens. She will carry this small mystery with her into sleep, a gentle whisper of the unknown in the stillness of the cove. The last hint of twilight has long since faded from the sky, leaving behind a deep, velvety canvas pricked with the sharp, cold fire of 1,000 stars. Inside the Myra, the soft glow of the oil lamp casts long, dancing shadows across the varnished teak, but outside, the world is a study in profound darkness. You step onto the small deck, the cool night air a gentle caress on your face, carrying the briny scent of the sea and the damp earth of the surrounding forest. The Myra creaks softly beneath your feet, a familiar lullaby of wood and water, as if the boat itself is breathing with the gentle swell of the cove. You lean against the cabin, feeling the solid, weathered planks beneath your hands, still holding a faint warmth from the sun's last rays. Above you, the mast reaches like a silent sentinel into the inky blackness, its rigging a delicate web of lines that whisper almost imperceptibly with the breath of the rising breeze. It's a sound like dry grass rustling, or a quiet sigh, a constant counterpoint to the gentle lapping of water against the hull. The cove itself is a mirror for the night sky, reflecting the scattered diamond dust of the stars in a shimmering, broken mosaic. Each tiny ripple on the surface catches a pinprick of light, making the water seem alive with its own silent, celestial dance. It's impossible to tell where the water ends and the sky begins, a seamless expanse of dark blue and silver that wraps around you, holding you in its quiet embrace. Across the water, about 400 meters distant, the island is a darker, more profound silhouette against the barely lighter horizon. It's an unyielding, ancient mass, its forested slopes rising steeply from the water, a silent guardian of the cove. You can't discern individual trees from this distance, only the dense, unbroken line of the forest, a profound darkness that seems to absorb all light. The memory of the faint, fleeting light you saw on its shore earlier tonight lingers, a quiet question mark against its silent form. Was it merely a trick of the eye, a reflection, or something else entirely? The island holds its secrets close, as it always has. From the depths of the old-growth forest that rings the cove, the hoot of a great horned owl drifts across the water, a low, resonant call that seems to vibrate through the very air. It's a sound of the wild, ancient and untamed, a reminder that beyond the small, sheltered world of the Myra, nature continues its eternal, indifferent rhythm. The sound echoes for a moment, then fades, leaving behind an even deeper silence, punctuated only by the soft, rhythmic gurgle of water moving around the Myra's hull as she tugs gently at her mooring lines. A subtle shift in the air signals the arrival of the fog. It's a cool, damp breath, carrying with it a faint, earthy scent of wet moss and decaying leaves from the land. You can't see it yet, but you feel its presence, a creeping softness that promises to soon enshroud the cove in its ethereal embrace. It will mute the stars, soften the sharp edges of the land, and transform the world into a hushed, dreamlike space, where sounds are muffled and distances become immeasurable. You know that by morning, the Myra will be cloaked in a swirling, pearlescent mist, and the world will shrink to the small, comforting space of the deck and the immediate surroundings. You stand there for a long moment, simply breathing, simply being. The world outside is vast and still, filled with a quiet majesty that humbles and comforts in equal measure. There's a profound sense of peace that settles over you, a quiet joy in this solitude, this stillness. It's a feeling that resonates deep within, a quiet hum that speaks of contentment and belonging. This life here in this sheltered cove, aboard the Myra, is a world apart from anything you once knew. It is a life chosen not for its ease, but for its honesty, its simplicity, its profound connection to the elemental rhythms of the earth and sea. There's a deep gratitude that wells up within you, a warm, expansive feeling that spreads through your chest. Gratitude for the Myra, solid and steadfast beneath your feet, for the shelter she offers, for the quiet companionship of Chester, even when he's off on his mysterious nocturnal adventures. Gratitude for Walter, whose unspoken kindness allows you this space, this precious solitude. But most of all, gratitude for the quiet drift of days, for the slow turning of the seasons, for the freedom to simply observe, to paint, to read, to exist in harmony with the natural world. It's a feeling of being precisely where you are meant to be, at this exact moment in time. The questions of the past, the uncertainties of the future, all fade into the background, eclipsed by the sheer, luminous presence of the present. There's a quiet wonder in it, a sense of awe at the intricate beauty of the night, the vastness of the cosmos reflected in a small, dark cove. It's a silent conversation with the world, a deep acknowledgement of its grandeur and your small, cherished place within it. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sensations wash over you. the cool air, the scent of the sea, the gentle rocking of the boat, the distant hoot of the owl. When you open them again, the world seems even more vivid, more alive in its darkness. The quiet mysteries of the Myra, the faint names scratched into her hull, the rolled chart, the unopened letters in the tin, they are all threads in the rich tapestry of this life, waiting patiently to be understood. And the light on the island, fleeting and enigmatic, adds another quiet layer to the tapestry, a gentle pull of curiosity that hums just beneath the surface of your peaceful contemplation. It's a question for tomorrow, for the light of day, a conversation to be had with Walter. But for now, the night holds its own profound answers, whispered on the wind and reflected in the starlight. The embers in the cast-iron stove cast a flickering, dancing orange glow across the cabin's varnished teak. Each breath of air drawn into the stove coaxed a soft sigh from the dying fire, a gentle, rhythmic sound that became part of the quiet hum of the boat. You watch as Willow, her hands resting in her lap, gazes into the heart of the flames, her expression thoughtful, unhurried. The warmth radiating from the stove is a comforting presence against the cool evening air that seeps in through the portholes, a subtle chill that only makes the fire's embrace feel more profound. Outside, the world has settled into the deep hush of night. The wind, which had stirred the forest earlier in the day, has fallen to a whisper, barely rustling the rigging of the Myra. You can hear the soft, insistent lapping of the water against the hull, a sound that has become as familiar as your own heartbeat. It's a lullaby, constant and true, speaking of the ocean's vastness and the Myra's small, safe haven. Above, through the main hatch, you can glimpse the first few stars, sharp pinpricks of light in the deepening indigo sky, scattered like diamonds on black velvet. They seem impossibly distant, yet their silent presence feels close, a reminder of the quiet immensity beyond the cove. Willow reaches for a heavy woolen blanket, patterned with deep blues and greens like the ocean itself, and drapes it over her lap. Chester, who had been curled in a tight ball on the small folding table, stretches with a slow, deliberate elegance, his orange fur catching the firelight. He hops down, landing with a soft thud, and then, with a confident air, weaves his way between Willow's legs, settling with a contented sigh onto the blanket on her lap. His weight is a familiar comfort, a warm, purring presence that vibrates gently through the fabric. You can feel the deep rumble of his purr, a soft, continuous thrum that seems to resonate with the quiet rhythm of the evening. His eyes, half closed, reflect the fire's glow, two tiny amber embers in the dim light. She begins to stroke his fur, a slow, repetitive motion that seems to lull them both into an even deeper state of repose. Her fingers trace the line of his spine, the soft curve of his neck, the smooth expanse of his side. Each stroke is unhurried, a simple act of shared contentment. The air in the cabin is warm and still, carrying the faint, earthy scent of wood smoke mingled with the briny tang of the sea. It's a smell that speaks of home, of shelter, of the enduring wildness that surrounds them. Tonight, the quiet hours unfurl with a particular softness, an invitation to simply be asterisk. There is no urgency here, no demands, only the gentle passage of time. Willow reaches for a small, leather-bound book from the narrow shelf beside her. It's an old book, its pages yellowed with age, its cover softened by countless readings. She opens it to a place she has marked with a dried pressed fern and begins to read. The words are silent, absorbed by her, but you can feel the quiet turning of the pages, the slow, deliberate pace of her reading. Sometimes she pauses, her gaze lifting from the page to stare into the fire, as if the flickering flames hold some secret wisdom, some unspoken answer to a question she carries within. You watch as her eyes in these moments seem to hold a distant, thoughtful light. It is a light that speaks of memories, of quiet reflections. A faint, almost imperceptible furrow appears between her brows, a subtle sign of thought. It's the kind of thought that doesn't demand immediate resolution, but rather settles in, like a stone at the bottom of a clear stream, something to be observed, considered without pressure. Earlier today, when she had been walking the winding path up to Walter's cottage, the air had been thick with the scent of pine needles and damp earth. Walter had been sitting on his porch, whittling a small bird from a piece of driftwood. He'd looked up as she approached, his eyes crinkling at the corners in a slow smile. They had spoken of the weather, of the garden, of the way the salmon berries were ripening on the bushes along the path. And then, as the sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of soft orange and rose, Walter had paused, his knife still for a moment, and said, "The old light on the island, it's been acting up again. A faint flicker sometimes. Just before the fog rolls in." He had said it so casually, as if speaking of the tide or the changing season, but the words had settled in Willow's mind, a small, smooth stone. She had seen it herself just last night, that fleeting pulse of light from the direction of the small, uninhabited island that lay across the channel. A brief, almost ethereal glow, there and then gone, leaving behind only the deeper darkness. She hadn't mentioned it to Walter, not then, preferring to keep the observation to herself, to let it marinate in the quiet corners of her mind. Now, as the Myra rocks gently and the fire murmurs its ancient song, the memory of Walter's words returns. The old light. He had spoken of it as if it were a familiar, recurring thing, a part of the island's quiet history. You recall the way he had said, "Whoever was here before on another occasion," a phrase that hinted at lives lived in this cove long before Willow's arrival, lives that left faint traces, whispers in the wind. The island itself, with its dense shroud of trees, always held a sense of mystery, a wild, untamed heart. She had rowed there many times, explored its rocky shores, its hidden paths through the undergrowth, but had never found any trace of a light or of anyone who might tend it. The thought of it now is not unsettling, but rather a quiet thread woven into the tapestry of the evening. It's a gentle riddle, something to ponder without needing an immediate answer. The light on the island, a flicker in the dark. A story waiting to be understood, perhaps. She doesn't dwell on it, not with any urgency. It simply exists, a soft question mark in the back of her mind, like the distant cry of a night bird heard but not pursued. Chester, sensing her quiet contemplation, shifts slightly on her lap, his purr deepening. He kneads the blanket with his paws, a slow, rhythmic motion that speaks of deep comfort. Willow lowers her book, resting it open on her knee, her fingers still stroking Chester's warm fur. Her gaze drifts to the small porthole above the galley sink, where a single, bright star now hangs, a diamond suspended in the inky blackness. The star seems to twinkle with a gentle intensity, a silent witness to the world. The quiet of the cabin deepens further. The sound of the water against the hull seems to grow more distinct, a steady, hypnotic rhythm. It's the sound of the ocean breathing, a reminder of the vast, unseen currents that move beneath the surface. You can almost feel the gentle swell of the water as the Myra responds to its embrace, a subtle rise and fall that is barely perceptible, yet ever present. The scent of wood smoke is softer now, a lingering warmth in the air, mingling with the faint, fresh scent of the lavender and rosemary from the pots on the dock, carried in on the last breath of the evening breeze. Willow's eyelids droop slightly, her focus softening. The boundaries of the cabin seem to blur, the edges of the room softening into a comfortable indistinctness. The fire continues its slow decline, its glow becoming more muted, more intimate. The shadows stretch and contract with each gentle flicker, creating a dance of light and dark on the polished wood. The day's small events, the walk to Walter's, the quiet conversation, the faint memory of the light on the island, all begin to recede, dissolving into the peaceful landscape of her thoughts. She is simply here in this moment, held by the gentle rocking of the boat, by the warmth of the fire, by the soft weight of Chester on her lap. The world outside, with its ancient forests and its restless sea, seems to fold itself around the small, safe space of the Myra, creating a cocoon of silence and peace. You can feel the air growing cooler as the fire slowly dies, but the warmth of the blanket and Chester's body is enough. The silence is not empty, but full of the small, natural sounds of the night. The distant hoot of an owl from the headland, the occasional creak of the Myra's timbers as she settles into the tide, the steady, rhythmic wash of water against the hull. Willow's breathing deepens, becoming slow and even. Her eyes are almost closed now, the long lashes resting gently on her cheeks. The book remains open on her lap, its words unread, its stories waiting for another time. The quiet mystery of the island light, the casual mention from Walter, it all drifts to the periphery, a soft, unanswered question that doesn't demand an answer tonight. It will be there tomorrow, a quiet thread to pick up, or perhaps to simply observe from a distance, like a ship on the horizon. Everything is slowing, settling. The world outside the small portholes is a deepening velvet black, studded with increasingly brilliant stars. The gentle rise and fall of the Myra is a steady lullaby, a comforting rhythm that mirrors the slowing beat of the heart. Chester, a warm, purring bundle, is deeply asleep on her lap, his breath soft and regular. The scent of salt and wood smoke lingers, a familiar perfume of peace. The open question of the island light is a soft presence, a gentle invitation to dream, to wonder, but not to worry. It is simply there, a quiet mystery in a world full of quiet grace. The deep night settles over the cove, a blanket woven from silence and the cool breath of the sea. The air grows still and heavy, holding the scent of pine needles and damp earth, mingling it with the sharper, cleaner tang of salt water. You feel the stillness deepen around the Myra, not an absence of sound, but rather a quality of silence that allows the quietest noises to expand, to echo in the vastness of the dark. The water against the hull becomes a soft, rhythmic whisper, a lullaby of gentle friction. It sounds as if the cove itself is breathing, a slow, deep intake and release. A low creak sounds from the timbers of the Myra, a soft complaint as the boat settles into the water, adjusting to the changing tide, a tiny shift in its weight. It is a familiar sound, one that has become part of the quiet architecture of your nights here, a living presence in the wood. You notice the subtle shift in temperature, the air growing cooler, carrying the dampness of the approaching fog. It drifts in through the narrow channel, a pale, ethereal presence, softening the edges of the world. You can almost feel it on your skin, a fine, cool mist that promises to wrap the cove in a soft, gray embrace by morning. Inside the cabin, the warmth from the cast iron stove is a comforting presence, a lingering memory of the fire you've banked for the night. You move with unhurried grace, your actions fluid and quiet in the dim glow of the oil lamp. The flame is turned very low now, a small, steady beacon that casts long, dancing shadows on the varnished teak walls. These shadows stretch and contract with the gentle rocking of the boat, creating a silent, hypnotic play of light and dark. You reach for the small brass poker, a cool weight in your hand, and carefully open the stove door. The embers within glow a deep, rich orange, a heart of warmth tucked away for the night. You stir them gently, just enough to settle them, to ensure they will hold their heat until morning. A faint puff of wood smoke, sweet and earthy, escapes into the cabin before you close the door, the soft clink of the latch a small punctuation mark in the silence. The scent of the smoldering wood lingers, a comforting perfume that promises warmth and continuity. Your gaze drifts over the small, familiar space of the cabin. The ceramic dishes with their tiny blue flowers rest in their rack, clean and dry. The copper pots gleam faintly in the lamplight. On the small folding table, the book you were reading lies open, face down, its pages holding the memory of your thoughts. You reach for it, closing it gently, the soft rustle of the paper a quiet sound. You place it on the small shelf above the table, tucking it neatly among the other well-loved volumes. Next, you move to the narrow sleeping berth in the bow, your movements economical and quiet. You smooth the blanket, a thick woven wool that has become a familiar comfort. Its texture is soft beneath your fingertips, promising warmth against the cool night air. You fold the sweater you were wearing, placing it carefully at the foot of the berth, ready for the morning. Each small action is a ritual, a gentle winding down of the day, a preparation for the quiet drift into sleep. Chester, who had been curled in a tight ball on the small stool near the stove, uncurls himself with a languid stretch. His orange fur seems to absorb the lamplight, making him glow with a soft, inner warmth. He arches his back, extends his front paws, and then pads silently across the cabin floor, his movements liquid and graceful. You watch as he approaches the berth, his tail held low, a soft, almost imperceptible swish. He jumps lightly onto the edge of the mattress, then turns in a slow circle, surveying the space with his large, intelligent eyes before settling himself at the very foot of your berth. He curls into a compact ball, his white cravat patch a small beacon in the dim light. You can hear the soft, rhythmic purr begin, a low rumble that vibrates through the mattress, a steady, comforting pulse that fills the quiet space. It is a sound that has become synonymous with peace, with the secure feeling of being held within this small, wooden world. You reach out a hand, and he leans into your touch, his fur soft and warm beneath your fingers. He closes his eyes, his purr deepening, a testament to his contentment. You return your hand to your side, allowing the warmth of Chester's presence to become part of the quiet tapestry of the night. The sounds of the Myra continue their gentle symphony. The soft lapping of water, the occasional creak of wood, the almost imperceptible sway of the boat. Outside, the fog has deepened, muffling the distant sounds of the forest. The hoot of an owl, which had been clear earlier, now seems softer, more distant, absorbed by the thick, moist air. The world outside the cabin feels vast and still, a place of hushed secrets and ancient rhythms. You sit for a moment on the edge of the berth, simply existing in the quiet. The low light from the oil lamp illuminates the worn planks of the cabin floor, the curve of the hull, the familiar objects that make up your small home. There is a deep sense of belonging here, a profound peace that settles into your bones. This cove, this boat, these quiet days and nights have become a sanctuary, a place where the clamor of the world outside has no reach. Your eyes drift to the small porthole above your berth. Through the thick glass, you can see only a milky gray blur, the fog having completely enveloped the Myra. The world beyond is indistinct, softened, as if viewed through a dream. It is a comforting sight, this gentle obliteration of the horizon, a feeling of being cradled and protected by the natural world. You reach for the small bottle of lavender oil that sits on the shelf above the berth. You unscrew the cap, and the sweet, calming scent drifts into the air, a gentle counterpoint to the lingering wood smoke. You dab a tiny amount onto your temples, the cool liquid a soft touch on your skin. The aroma is instantly soothing, a signal to your body and mind that it is time to release the day, to surrender to the quiet embrace of sleep. The air in the cabin is growing cooler now, but the warmth from Chester's purring presence and the thick blanket promises comfort. You ease yourself fully into the berth, pulling the woolen blanket up to your chin. It feels substantial and soft, a protective cocoon against the dampness of the night. The mattress yields gently beneath you, a familiar depression that molds to your form. You close your eyes for a moment, listening. The sounds of the water against the hull seem to draw closer, to fill the space around you. Each gentle lap, each soft gurgle, is a tiny pulse of the cove's heart. You feel the almost imperceptible rocking of the Myra, a subtle sway that is both grounding and freeing. It is a sensation that has become deeply ingrained, a part of your very being here. You remember the fleeting light on the island, the curious, almost shimmering glow that appeared and vanished so quickly. It sits in your mind, a small, intriguing question, a quiet thread of wonder. You imagine asking Walter about it tomorrow, his slow, thoughtful response. He often knows more than he says, his words like stones skipped across still water, creating ripples that spread out slowly, revealing deeper truths. The image of the light on the island fades, replaced by the soft darkness behind your eyelids. Your breathing deepens, slowing to match the rhythm of the water. You feel the weight of Chester at the foot of the berth, a warm, steady anchor. His purr continues, a soft, hypnotic thrum that seems to resonate with the quiet hum of the Myra. The world outside the cabin, wrapped in fog and silence, begins to recede, becoming a distant, indistinct memory. You turn on your side, drawing your knees up slightly, finding that familiar, comfortable curve. The pillow is soft beneath your head, cradling it gently. The subtle scent of the sea, of wood, of lavender mingles in the air around you, a gentle symphony for your senses. The stillness of the deep night is absolute now, a profound and enveloping peace. The last vestiges of the day drift away, like leaves on a slow-moving current. You feel yourself drifting too, held in the gentle embrace of the Myra, of the cove, of the profound, quiet dark. The oil lamp turned very low, casts a final, faint glow, a tiny star in your private universe, before you close your eyes, ready for the quiet journey into sleep. The gentle sway of the Myra holds you now, a cradle against the vast stillness of the night. You settle deeper into the narrow berth, feeling the comforting weight of the wool blanket drawing close around you, a soft cocoon against the cool air that breathes through the slight opening of the forward hatch. The air itself is a blend of the day's lingering scents, the sharp, clean tang of salt from the sea, the rich, earthy perfume of the damp forest, and the subtle, deep aroma of wood smoke that clings to your clothes and the very fabric of the boat. It is a scent of home, of warmth, of shelter. Chester, a warm, purring weight, has found his familiar spot at the foot of your berth. His rhythmic rumble vibrates softly through the mattress, a living, breathing warmth that anchors you to the moment. You can feel the rise and fall of his small body against your feet, a steady, comforting presence. The oil lamp, turned low, casts a soft, amber glow that barely reaches the edges of the small cabin. Its flame flickers gently, a tiny, steady beacon in the encroaching darkness, dancing with the subtle movement of the boat. Shadows lengthen and recede, painting the varnished teak with shifting patterns of light and shade. The fire in the cast-iron stove is now only a bed of deep red embers, breathing out a gentle, residual heat that chases away the last vestiges of the evening chill. You listen to the quiet crackle and sigh of the cooling metal, a soft, intimate sound in the stillness. Beyond the hull, the cove is utterly still, a dark mirror reflecting the faint starlight that has begun to pierce the cloud cover. The only sound from outside is the almost imperceptible lapping of water against the Myra's wooden hull, a soft, rhythmic whisper that speaks of endless tides and the deep, dark heart of the ocean. It is a sound that has become the very heartbeat of your quiet life here, a constant, gentle reassurance. The world outside the small cabin narrows now, retreating to the edges of your awareness. The headland, the forest, the distant sea, they all become hushed, indistinct forms, fading into the deep indigo of the night. All that remains is the immediate, tangible world of the Myra. The smooth curve of the hull around you, the familiar scent of the wood, the soft warmth of the blanket. You close your eyes and the amber glow of the lamp filters through your lids, painting the inside of your mind with soft, shifting colors. The sensation of the boat's gentle rock becomes more pronounced now, no longer a movement against the stillness, but a stillness itself, a deep, slow rhythm that resonates with your own breath. In, out, rise, fall, the gentle breath of the cove, the gentle breath of the boat, the gentle breath of you. Chester's purr deepens, a low, contented thrum against the soles of your feet. You imagine his small, warm body, curled into a perfect circle, lost in his own quiet dreams. Perhaps he dreams of sunbeams on the foredeck, or the rustle of leaves in the forest, or the taste of a particularly sweet bit of fish. His dreams are as mysterious and self-contained as he is. The warmth of the blanket spreads, seeping into every part of you, loosening the last threads of the day's gentle activities. The memory of the warm tea in your hands, the smooth curve of the ceramic mug, the soft light of the setting sun on the water, turning the surface of the cove to molten gold, then to a deep, shimmering violet. The scent of the rosemary from the pot on the dock, crushed lightly between your fingers as you paused before stepping aboard. Small, quiet moments, each one a bead on a string, now dissolving into the soft haze of approaching sleep. The image of the island drifts into your mind, not with sharpness, but with a soft, hazy edge. You recall the way the trees stand sentinel against the sky, dark and ancient, their branches reaching like gnarled hands. And then the faint, fleeting light. It was a mere flicker, a brief spark against the deep green of the forest, and then it was gone, like a breath held then released. You wonder about it now, not with urgency, but with a gentle, floating curiosity. Was it a trick of the deepening twilight, a stray reflection from something unseen, or was it something else entirely? The question hangs in the soft darkness, a feather caught on a gentle breeze, not demanding an answer, but simply present. The sounds of the Myra become more intimate still, the small creaks and groans of the wood as it settles, the whisper of the water against the hull. Each sound is a lullaby, a soft chorus that sings you to sleep. The fire, now completely dormant, offers only a memory of heat, a ghost of warmth that lingers in the air. The faint glow of the lamp seems to soften even further, becoming a hazy halo in the periphery of your vision. You are drifting on the gentle tide of sleep, carried by the subtle undulation of the cove. Your thoughts slow, becoming less like distinct words and more like soft, shifting impressions, the deep peace of the cove. The quiet strength of the Myra, the steady presence of Chester, the kindness of Walter, each a soft anchor in your quiet life, holding you gently in this sheltered place. You feel a profound sense of gratitude, not a soaring emotion, but a deep, quiet warmth that spreads through your chest. A feeling of being exactly where you are meant to be at this moment, in this gentle, timeless place. The world outside the berth has all but faded now. The forest, the headland, the distant sea, they are no longer distinct, but have merged into a vast, soft darkness. The sounds too have softened, the lapping of the water now almost indistinguishable from the quiet pulse in your ears. You are a part of the Myra, a part of the cove, a part of the night. The boundaries between yourself and the boat, between the boat and the water, between the water and the night, begin to blur. The weight of the blanket is a comfort. The warmth of Chester is a comfort. The gentle rock of the boat is a comfort. Comfort, comfort, comfort. Slowly, slowly, the thoughts unravel like threads pulled from a loom. The images become less defined, more like impressions. A warm glow, a soft sound, a quiet breath. The rhythm of the water against the hull, a steady, soothing pulse. The scent of salt and wood smoke, a deep, familiar embrace. The island light, it was there, and then it was not. A small question, a quiet thread. A gentle mystery for another day. You would ask Walter. Tomorrow, perhaps he would know. Perhaps he would simply smile, that slow, knowing smile of his, and say nothing at all. But you would ask. The berth holds you, the blanket holds you, Chester holds you, the Myra holds you, the cove holds you, the night holds you, everything is still, utterly, completely still. You drift, drift, drift. The faint light from the lamp finally dims, almost imperceptible now, a last gasp of light before the deep, soft darkness of sleep takes hold. The last thought that surfaces, like a smooth stone brought to the surface of a deep, calm pool, is of the small blue flowers on the ceramic dishes, waiting for morning.
This is the end of today's episode. Did you listen to the whole story? Share your experience in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to The Quiet Drift. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then.